Welcome to the Savage Productions YouTube channel.
Hey, what's up? Thanks for clicking on this video. So today I have a 95 Cobra in the shop. I'm all done with it. I just finished changing the oil. I gotta lower it down. I gotta put the fresh oil back in it. So on this car, we rebuilt the motor on this thing last year. The story was on this, he bought the car. It had a Vortex supercharger on it, and you know, it was hacked up, point blank. We're just going to throw it right out there. It was hacked up. The car itself is a nice car, as you can see. Interior is nice. The engine compartment wasn't so nice. He had there were some issues with it. So it turned out when he was driving it, it lost oil pressure. He pulled the distributor shaft out and it broke the oil pump shaft. So he wanted us to drop the oil pan and replace the oil pump, all that stuff, right? So we did that. When we could tell that the bearings had gotten hot. The main caps were really, they turned color, they got so hot. So checking the main bearings, one or two main bearings, rod bearings, it was toast. Crankshaft was damaged beyond repair. The motor had some mileage on it anyway. So we was going to go ahead and rebuild the motor. So we pulled the motor out. We was going to start rebuilding it. The way this thing was, it was set up as a Fox body. It didn't have an SN95 intake. It had really none of the brackets on the front, nothing, because of the supercharger. So, you know, he kind of wanted to get it back to that status because it is a Cobra, you know? I mean, the thing's worth some money. The last 2 years of the pushrod motor and it being a Cobra. So luckily, well, it's kind of lucky and unlucky. Luckily, he found the next town north of Cincinnati, Dayton, Ohio. There was a guy up there that had a Cobra. And he was selling his complete motor. It did have some good stuff on it that he needed. It had a Holley System X intake. It had the elbow for the SN95. It had a nice throttle body. It had an Anderson Motorsports power pipe. It had some Holley System X heads. You know, pretty much a complete motor. He listened to a video of it running. Sounded okay over the video. So he bought the whole thing from oil pan to intake, cold air kit, well, the Anderson Motorsports power pipe, mass airflow sensor. He even bought the computer with it that was already tuned. So we get the motor here. The guy actually dropped it off here. There was a few things kind of iffy about it. It had stock valve covers on it. With stock valve covers on the SN95s, they're real short, so you can't run roller rockers on it. And with those heads, the Holley System X heads, it's like, how are these valve covers fitting on here? Because it's most likely got roller rockers. So we started checking it out, and sure enough, the roller rockers that had on it were hitting the valve covers. And then one of the roller rockers was the adjuster on it was about one full turn of falling off the screwed in stud, and it beat up the rocker arm from, you know, being so loose. So this is another example of somebody not being honest about something they're selling. So at that point, you know, seeing it had some damage, I'm like, well, we probably need to inspect this thing a little further. So while I had it on the engine stand, we went ahead and started checking some stuff out. I dropped the oil pan. It had all the bearings were damaged. They were just, there was grooves in the bearings. Just there was some copper showing, and then looking at two of the cylinder walls were scarred up bad. I mean, it had a nasty gouge in two of them. Turns out that the oil ring had folded down. They obviously didn't put them on right. The oil ring had folded down between the piston and the cylinder wall on two of the pistons, and while it was running, it was just chewing up everything. So we ended up rebuilding that motor. The other motor that came out of the car when he bought it, he ended up selling it to somebody, the whole deal. So this motor had some good parts. What was good about it was it had an Eagle forged crank, it had Eagle H-beam forged rods, and forged aluminum pistons. The cam that was in it was definitely, must have been high mileage or used cam that they put in it, because it had a lot of imperfections on it, so we tossed it. So since it was already 30 over, we had to go 60 over to clean up the gouges in the cylinder wall. So that's what we did. We made it a 310 cubic inch, 60 over, 302. The heads we had them skimmed, we checked them all out, everything came out great on the heads. We put one of our Trick Flow spec cams in it, and it runs great, man. It rock and rolls, pulls a 6500 real quick. Car's got 373 gears in it, so it turned out to be a really nice car. I'm gonna lower it down here in just a second, and then I'll show you what it looks like under the hood, and we're gonna crank this thing up, and we're gonna take it for a ride here in a little bit. So check out this transmission. So before we lower it down, I was gonna show you the old transmission. So this is the box it came in, of course. There it is. And this is the old transmission right here. We also replaced the clutch cable, the quadrant. That cable was old, dragging. You could tell when you push the clutch in, it was a little hard, so it was dragging. A lot of times what happens is these cables, when they get old, especially if you have a tight clutch and the cable is not, you know, a great cable, these will actually start coming apart. And as you push on the clutch pedal, these they'll get bigger inside the jacket, because, you know, this cable is trying to pull, and as it pulls, if this doesn't stay wound tight in here, these will spread out and get big, and when they spread out and get big, it drags through here, makes a hard pedal, also a low pedal, because it's not pulling and disengaging the clutch all the way when this is spreading open. So keep that in mind. If you ever have a low pedal and you can't adjust it anymore, and the pedal is hard, most likely you need another cable. And, you know, don't cheap out and get some cheap cable. You know, get a quality one. We typically use a Steeda road racing cable with the quadrant and everything, because it's a lot larger of a cable inside, and it will hold up to a high pressure clutch, which you don't really need a high pressure clutch in these. There's a lot of good clutches out there that hold a lot of power without having a pressure plate that is going to break your leg, you know, when you push in on it. So I'm going to just show you the other transmission real quick. You know, as you can see, it's nice and new looking. It's a world-class T5, and yeah, it's going to do just fine for him, for sure. So on the bottom of this car, as you can see, it's we had to put a Canton oil pan on it. With all our builds, we do a SFI balancer. This thing really looked good on the engine stand. So what I'll do is I'll get a clip of it. I'll throw a picture in this video showing this engine on the engine stand. So I got it down on the ground. I went ahead and got the oil in it. I'm gonna do a little walk around and show you guys. So I actually think I said this was a 95. This is actually 94. You know, same thing, 94, 95, SN95. But yeah, so this is our SP 310 cubic inch small block Ford. 30, it's 60 over, 302. So when he got this, when he bought this motor, he bought, like I say, he bought the complete motor. It came with the Holley System Max intake. It had the heads. The heads have been ported out. The lower intake was ported. It came with a 70 millimeter throttle body, BBK throttle body, Anderson Motorsports power pipe, which is cool. We're a dealer for them. We like to use their power pipes on the Fox bodies a lot as well. It's got a nice big mass airflow sensor. I think it's an SCT, I believe. You know, so I forget exactly what he spent on the motor, but it wasn't supposed to have to be rebuilt. It was a running motor, but it had issues. Guy wasn't being honest about it. So, you know, he bought the motor, not expecting to have to rebuild this thing. But he was able to get everything back into the factory situation, like the brackets, you know, everything. The motor that was in it before was not set up right at all for an SN95. He did have the red Ford Performance plug wires. The billet MSD distributor, I believe, came with the new motor. I'm not sure if he had that on the old motor or the new one. But so he got the billet MSD distributor, which is cool. We ended up doing trick flow valve covers. When we did it, we reused the headers that were on the car when he bought it. They're BBK shorties. We had, like I say, from the bottom, you've seen we put a Canton oil pan on it because it had another thing this motor had was a Canton main support girdle on it, which is really cool. So the bottom end is strong. It's got a forged bottom end. When we assembled this motor, we gapped it for nitrous in case he wants to throw nitrous to it. This motor he bought also had the pulleys on it already. Had the water pump pulley, the crank pulley. So we reused them. Let's see, what else did we do? I believe he had the MSD coil. He already had it. It might have came with the motor. So like I say, he got a lot of stuff with this motor. So it wasn't all, you know, a big loss there. But he did end up spending more money than he needed to, obviously. It's got a fairly new stock radiator. This was the fan that was on it when he bought it, and it was not wired up correctly at all. So we wired it up and put a fan controller on it. There's a fan controller. And we use, you can buy them fan controllers, they're adjustable. You can buy them with a probe that sticks in the fins of the radiator, or you can buy it that has a sensor that will screw into the coolant passage. And that's what we typically do. We always do the coolant one. I just think it's more accurate to do that. So as you can see, the car is in, it's really nice. It's already got lowering springs on it. It actually sits lower. I got to get it down on the ground here. I got it lifted up a little bit. The interior is not bad. It's original white. The car is with the tan and black theme going on. And he's got some white face gauges. They might have came stock in these, I'm not sure. It's got a little kind of a billet aluminum bezel on there. Yeah, this is nice. He's got a nice stereo system in here with he's got the faceplate off now. So all in all, man, this thing is in good shape. I can't remember the exact mileage on the car, but you can see the seats not all torn or anything. So, you know, these things are bringing some decent money now too. You know, this is definitely a rust-free car. I don't think it's ever been really driven in the snow. It's got some nice big fat wheels on it. It's got drag radials. Still got the original tail lights. So yeah, it's good that we kind of got this thing back into an original theme up under the hood. So and I tell you, you can't get intakes for Fox bodies or for these now. I mean, if you special order them from Holley or from Edelbrock, Trick Flow, it's going to take a very, very long time to get them, and then you may never get them. So that's really kind of a bummer about these old pushrod motors. You know, we build these motors, and if it's a stock motor with a stock intake, we just have a hard time getting intakes for these. So there's other things you could do, you know, but it just seems like the days of getting these fuel injected intakes for these Fox bodies and these SN95s are coming to an end, because they just don't make them. I mean, they have them. If you look them up, they show that they have them for sale. The price is very high, and it's months out. You know, I don't normally order them if they're that far out, because you just don't get them. They just keep pushing the date further and further out. So well, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna go ahead and crank this thing up. I got to get it outside. I'm gonna adjust the idle a little bit, and we're gonna take it for a ride. See how that new transmission's working out. So we got the car outside, kind of adjusted the idle a little bit. It was having an issue with it shutting off sometimes when you come up to a light or a stop sign, and had it adjusted up a little bit. So I basically adjusted the throttle blade, and had to adjust the throttle positioning sensor back down a little bit once the throttle blade was cracked a little more. These actually have an adjustment screw on the throttle body that works with the air idle control valve. So it seems like it's doing okay. I haven't driven it yet, so we'll see what it does here. I'll let y'all listen to it. It sounds pretty sweet. This one's got a one of our Trick Flow cams that we use. This cam pulls to 6,000 RPM, but when I install these, I retard the cam time in 4 degrees. That had taken on up to about 6,300, 64. With the intake that's on it, that intake pulls to 65, and it pulls right up to 65, bam, like right now. So I told him to probably shift this thing at around 6,300. That'd be in the sweet spot. It's a nice sounding cam. The next level up of Trick Flow pulls to about 6,700. We've used those in some builds. Depending on RPM and compression is what you want to do when you choose a cam. So he's going to be here any time now, but I was going to take it for a little ride and see how this transmission feels. Probably pull up by the time I'm trying to pull out of here. good. And it don't stall. We still got some adjustment we can do if it stalls. I mean, it does pretty good. Oh, that transmission feels good. I can tell right there, night and day difference. It goes into first gear really nice. Clutch pedal feels a lot better since we put that new clutch cable on. Airport cops around here, they actually patrol this area, so I don't want to get no tickets. I want to pull back here. There's a little side road back here. I want to make sure everything don't stall. I like to keep these idling right around 1,000. That's where they seem to be the sweet spot. That's where they like them. Clutch pedal feels really good. Transmission feels great. You couldn't even shift it like that before it grind. I'm not gonna get on it and beat it. I'll let him do that. Besides, this thing's loud. It's got some exhaust on it, and I don't want to attract no attention with the police around here. Woo! This thing pulls good, man. It loves it right around that 35 to 4,000. Alright, let's see what it does. Every now and then it'd stall. See, these always hang up just like the Fox bodies. The idle will hang up a little bit as you roll to a stop, and then it settles down. But yeah, it's doing good. I think I figured it out. I got, like I say, I had cracked the throttle blade open a little bit more, and then I had to modify the throttle positioning sensor to bring the voltage back down at idle. You basically don't want to have it any more than 1.1 volt at idle. And cracking the throttle blade open, it was more than that, so I modified it so I could adjust it back down to 1.1 volt. I like to have them under 1 volt, but I couldn't get there with the idle up where I wanted it. Thing sounds good. It's got some, I think the exhaust, it's all 2.5, got an H pipe. And it's got some straight through mufflers. Dynomax bullet mufflers. So it does get loud when you get on it, that's for sure. Transmission feels great, man. Somebody walking across the street there. able to get on it. He'll be able to get on it and have a little fun now. Oh, I think that might be a cop coming. I'm telling you, they're all over the place over here. Airport police, man, they patrol this whole area. I've actually talked to them. I've told them that they're going to see me in a lot of different vehicles test driving around here. So yeah, man, it's cool, man. I'd like to be getting on it, having some fun, but I think he's there. Yep, he's there waiting on me. I'm gonna go ahead and pull around front. Make sure ain't no cars coming. Sometimes they fly around that corner back there. There, he's over here waiting. We're gonna end this video here in just a second. There he is. Get out, talk to this guy. What's up, man? I'm doing a little YouTube video. Taking it for a little ride. I think we got the idle situated. We did install it once. Hey, Mom! All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. Let him take it out and feed on it a little bit now. He'll be able to have some fun with it. Alright, I appreciate you guys checking out the channel. Definitely subscribe, share, give me a thumbs up, and we'll catch you on the next video.